REST handles resource-based request and response. GraphQL lets a client choose a data shape. gRPC provides typed, efficient calls between services. SOAP provides formal enterprise messaging. Webhooks deliver events later. SSE streams updates from a server to a client. WebSockets keep a two-way message channel open. WebRTC carries real-time media and peer data. In the next few minutes, we'll look at how each one works, where it fits, and why a real application might use several of them together. Let's begin with REST, the style most developers meet first. REST organizes an API around resources. A user is a resource, a product is a resource, and an order is a resource. Each resource gets an address, such as /users/42 or /orders/781, and the client uses standard HTTP methods to work with it. GET retrieves data, POST creates something, PUT or patch changes it, and DELETE removes it. Imagine a food delivery app. It can retrieve a restaurant with a GET request, create a new order with POST, and later request that order's latest status. The server normally returns JSON along with an HTTP status code, such as 200 for success, 201 for a newly created resource, or 404 when the resource does not exist. REST is popular because it uses familiar web ideas and works across browsers, mobile apps, and services. A request should contain enough context to be handled independently. That is what stateless means. The order still exists in a database. The request simply does not depend on a hidden conversation inside one particular server process. REST is a strong default when an application can be expressed as clear resources and operations. It becomes less convenient when a screen needs a carefully selected combination of nested data from several places. That is the problem GraphQL addresses. With GraphQL, the client sends a query describing the exact fields it wants. A delivery app's home screen might request restaurant names, delivery estimates, featured menu items, and the customer's active coupon in one query. The response follows the same shape, so the client does not receive every available field or make several separate requests just to build one screen. GraphQL provides a typed schema that gives front-end teams flexibility when web and mobile screens need different data. But it is not automatically faster. Complex queries can create expensive database work. Authorization must be enforced correctly, and caching differs from ordinary REST URLs. It is most useful when clients genuinely need control over related data. REST and GraphQL are commonly used between a client and a public-facing backend. Inside the backend, services may need something more compact and strongly typed. This is where gRPC fits. gRPC describes remote operations with protocol buffers. A team might define a method called reserve items that receives an order and returns a reservation result. From that contract, tools generate client and server code in several programming languages. The messages use a compact binary format instead of text-heavy JSON, and HTTP2 allows multiple calls and streams to share a connection. For a food delivery system, the order service could use gRPC to contact inventory, restaurant, pricing, and courier services. Because one organization controls both ends, generated code and strict message types can reduce integration mistakes. gRPC also supports normal request-response calls, server streaming, client streaming, and bidirectional streaming. That does not make it a universal replacement for REST. Binary messages are less convenient to inspect manually. Direct browser support requires extra tooling, and public consumers may prefer ordinary HTTP. gRPC is especially useful for internal service-to-service communication where performance, streaming, and a clear contract matter. SOAP also uses a strict contract, but it comes from a different era and serves a different environment. SOAP is a protocol built around structured XML messages. A message has an envelope, an optional header, and a body. Services often publish a WSDL document describing the available operations and the exact message types they accept. SOAP is still common in banking, government, healthcare, telecom, and large enterprise systems. Its surrounding standards can support requirements such as message-level security, reliable messaging, and coordinated transactions. Those capabilities are valuable when several organizations must follow a formal agreement for years. The cost is complexity. XML is verbose. The tooling can feel heavy, and many modern applications do not need the complete set of enterprise standards. A new delivery app probably would not choose SOAP for its public menu API, but it may still use SOAP when connecting to an established bank or corporate partner. The right choice depends on the system you must integrate with, not on which technology is newest. REST, GraphQL, gRPC, and SOAP usually begin when one system sends a request. But many important events happen later. A payment may take several seconds to clear, a shipment may be dispatched hours later, or a code build may finish after the original request has closed. Webhooks handle this kind of delayed notification. With a webhook, your application gives another service a callback URL. When something happens, that service sends an HTTP request to your URL. A payment provider might send a payment.succeeded event after an order has been approved. Your application receives the event, verifies it, and updates the order without asking the payment provider every second. That repeated checking is called polling. Polling is sometimes appropriate, but it wastes requests when changes are rare. A webhook lets the system that knows about the event deliver it directly. A reliable webhook receiver must do more than accept a post request. It should verify the provider's signature, respond quickly, process longer work in the background, and handle retries. The same event may arrive twice, so processing should be idempotent. Receiving a duplicate payment event must not charge or fulfill the order twice. Webhooks are best for system-to-system events that occur after the original interaction. They are not the same as a live connection to a user's browser. For one-way live browser updates, server-sent events, or SSE, may be a better fit. SSE keeps a normal HTTP connection open and allows the server to send a sequence of text events to the browser. The browser listens. The server publishes updates whenever they are ready. A delivery app could use SSE to update an order from accepted to cooking, to ready, and finally collected by the courier. Monitoring dashboards, notification feeds, build logs, and progress indicators are other common examples. Browsers provide a simple event source interface and can reconnect automatically if the connection drops. SSE is intentionally one-way. The client can still send ordinary HTTP requests, but the event stream itself runs from server to client. This simplicity is useful when the browser mainly needs to listen. If both sides need to send frequent messages over the same live connection, WebSockets are designed for that. A WebSocket begins with an HTTP handshake and then upgrades to a persistent bidirectional connection. After the connection opens, either side can send a message at any time. The client does not need to create a new HTTP request for every update. In the delivery app, a WebSocket could carry courier locations, customer messages, and driver replies over one open channel. The same pattern is useful for chat, collaborative editing, multiplayer games, auctions, and other experiences where events move quickly in both directions. Keeping connections open creates extra operational work. The system must authenticate long-lived sessions, notice disconnected clients, handle reconnection, and route messages across multiple servers. A WebSocket is valuable when the product needs an ongoing two-way conversation. It is unnecessary when a screen only refreshes occasionally. WebRTC handles another form of real-time communication: audio, video, and peer data. It is commonly used for video calls, voice calls, screen sharing, interactive streaming, and direct file transfer. Suppose the courier cannot find the customer's entrance and starts a video call. The two devices first use a signaling service to exchange connection details. WebRTC then attempts to establish a direct encrypted media path. Because many devices sit behind routers and firewalls, Stun helps discover reachable network addresses, while a turn server can relay the traffic when a direct connection is not possible. This is why saying that WebRTC removes servers is misleading. The media may travel directly between peers, but applications still need signaling, and some calls require a relay. WebRTC's value is that it handles low-latency media, encryption, codec negotiation, and changing network conditions far better than ordinary API requests.